So we just were in closed there doing a few things, and we're coming out. And it's great to see a big crowd tonight. And if I could get.
Yep. Thanks, Mayor Bridge. I'd like to ask to have Sam Faulkner moved up to early in the meeting, maybe like right now.
Well, right after we do one little thing. We have to do one little thing. And then that'd be good.
Whenever you're ready.
I have a seconder for that? All in favor, good, Sam. Sam looks like he's at the dentist over there. He's pretty nervous. You didn't know there was going to be a big crowd for you, Sam, like this. Yeah. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton and second by Councillor Dirksen that the previous minutes of the January 8th, 2019 council meeting and December 18th, 2018 council session meeting be approved. All in favor? Additional items? Okay. Anybody else?
Yes.
Judy? I have one myself. Okay. So now we're going to do this, right? No. No. Hang on. Moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor Elliott. The Town of Minto Council convenes in a committee of the whole. Sorry about that. All in favor? Now we can do this. Now. So I'm going to read a little thing, Sam, just a bit of what's going on, and then if you could come up here. And is anybody else coming up with you?
Take Grandpa.
Take Grandpa with you. He's kind of used to this. Yeah. And then I'm going to come down and see you in a minute. So in 2018, Sam Faulkner was here, held his 4th lemonade stand. It started a way to teach Sam about money and giving, and each year he picked a new group, so he was to put to charities. So he's donated so far to the New Growth Family Center in Mount Forest, the Elizabeth Memorial Hospital emergency room where his aunt works, Harrison Kinsman this year, and the food bank. And so Sam and his parents look at various local organizations to pick each year, and Sam chooses the one he would like to donate to. And I just want to say, Sam, this is great, and I think why we wanted to have you here and just to show what our youth in this community is all about, and the fact that you're a shining example of how proud we are of our youth, and the fact that you do these amazing things each year and donate to the charities of your choice. So I'm going to bring the certificate down and present this to you. And then you have to make a speech. Part of the team. You're part of the team, probably. You're going to be a helper next year. So we got music.
I have to. I've never read one thing. I hope I have my glasses.
Thanks very much.
Check.
Oh, the press wants one there.
I thought you and I'd get along this year. No, I'm good. I can read it. Actually, just a little easier to get.
I think that's what he said, yeah. Little does he know.
I can read this fine. A little easier. I think I'd be in trouble with it. I can read this fine.
I hope he can block me out.
What a great way to start the new year. So if you guys don't have to stick around if you don't want to. I'm making everybody else stay. Okay, so now we're in public meeting. I got my sheet. That should be here. Let's open this up. Yeah, I got it here. Okay, so next up is the public meeting, and I will. The public meeting is to consider an amendment to the Town of Minto zoning bylaw number 0186 for property located on Part Lot 19, Concession 14, municipal address of 6275 Highway 89, Town of Minto. I'll act as the chair of the public meeting. I'll call the meeting to order. Request any member of the public present to please sign the attendance record, and I'll state the following. If a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Town of Minto before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Town of Minto to the local planning appeal tribunal, and that the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of the appeal before the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the board, there's reasonable grounds to do so. I'll ask Acting Clerk Duff to state the municipal address and legal descriptions of the property and the purpose and effect of the application, the date notice was sent.
Great, thank you, Mayor Bridge. The property subject to the proposed amendment is located on Part Lot 19, Concession 14, with a municipal address of 6275 Highway 89, Town of Minto. The purpose and effect of the proposed amendment is to rezone the subject lands to permit a dog kennel within the existing drive shed. The lands are currently zoned agriculture A80, which permits a lavender farm, in addition to the agricultural uses and natural environment. Additional relief may be considered at this meeting. Notices were mailed out to the property owners within 400 feet or 120 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies, on January the 3rd, 2019, and posted on the subject property. The following comments were received. Town of Minto staff from the building assistant, and that reports here. Jessica Rahim, junior planner, County of Wellington, that reports attached. And Michael Oberl, environmental planning technician at Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority.
Okay. And I'll call on the county planner to provide comments regarding the proposed amendment. Curtis?
Good evening. It's a little warmer up here. So glad to come up. I'm always glad to come up. So thank you, Mayor and members of council. Just a very brief presentation of this application. So the subject property is designated in the county plan as secondary agricultural, core greenlands, and greenlands. Now the property is owned in the town zoning bylaw as an agricultural exception, with the site-specific exemption for the lavender farm and associated store. And a portion of the property is also zoned natural environment. So under the township zoning bylaw, rezoning is required anytime a kennel is proposed on a property. And this allows for the town to determine if the use of the property as a kennel is appropriate. So the township also has a kennel bylaw which provides more specific regulations. And as part of that kennel bylaw, if there's a minimum 150 meter setback from neighboring residents. So you can see in the second page of the report, we did a map from the neighboring dwellings showing the 150 meter setback. So it appears that most of the property is outside of that setback. The applicants indicated their wish to utilize an existing shed on the property in the building cluster at this point, and we just note if they were to build a new building or expand the building in the future, they would need to obtain any necessary approval from the Conservation Authority, being that they're close to the natural features. So overall, we have no concerns with the application, and we prepared a draft bylaw for council's consideration.
I'll call on the town of Minto staff to provide comments. Michelle?
Thank you to Mayor Bridge. The town report basically mirrors the county report as far as Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority has indicated that they have no objection to the proposed application, and when town staff met to review from a zoning standpoint and also based on a town have no issues with the proposed application.
You want to do questions now? Or do you want to... Mark, would you have a question?
Mr. Mayor, MDS, is there a requirement for residents on the property that's requesting its neighbors?
It's just the neighbors. They are.
So you
They
could
can
put
put
one
that
right-
kennel anywhere they want on that.
See,
Okay, any other questions? Okay, just hang around, but we might have questions down the road. Then I'll call on the applicant or the agent to provide comments regarding the proposed amendment. The applicant want to speak to it? Applicant here. Oh, there they are, right. Okay. All right, if there's questions, you may. And I will call anybody else in favor of the proposed amendment? No. I'll call anybody wishing to comment on opposition to the proposed amendment. All right. Does the council want any more questions? Mark?
will this kennel be a member of the Canadian Kennel Association? Okay, and the market for the dogs, is it where their dogs come?
I believe I saw on the plans that the plan was to have 25 dogs currently. Okay.
Yeah, if you want to come up to the front, sorry. Otherwise, you don't get your moment on glory on television and all that.
So my current plan is to set 12 to ask
That was me.
and if it happens to actually be profitable, we'll set it up.
Because I was 25 is our maximum, correct? According to the policy, and I just wondered, it said there was a possibility of expanding. So I think in the application it said 25. So I was wondering about how they were going to expand.
That would be an expansion of the building itself,
Oh.
not the
Number.
cap on the number of dogs.
Right now, our cap is 25.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bridge. Terry, how onerous is it to manage kennels in the town of Minto?
From our perspective or
Yes.
the owner's perspective? Ours.
From your perspective.
Basically, we do annual checks. We go out there, verify paperwork. We look at the dogs themselves. We're not professionals to determine health, but we do a general look, and if there's concerns, we can bring professionals in. We make sure all the vaccinations are up to date. The owner of the kennel is required to maintain all those records. When the pups were born, who they were sold to. There's a number of checks that we go through. Any complaints that we receive from either purchasers or visitors to the property, if they have concerns about the dogs, we can drop in anytime just to double check whether the concerns are founded or not.
Thank you.
Yeah, just to reiterate that, I mean, basically, a lot of our bylaws are by complaint driven, although you will do an annual inspection on them. So. Gene?
Just one more question. Do you live on this land?
Yes.
Okay, so there's somebody there because the last application I concerned about that.
Oh,
I have
okay.
dogs in the barn and nobody there to. And what kind of dogs? Do you know? Okay. Maybe the popular breed out there.
Else? Thank you. All right. I will state that if you wish to be notified of the decision of the Council of the Town of Minto in respect to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment application, you must make a written request to the Deputy Clerk of the Town of Minto at 5941 Highway 89, Harrison, NOG 1ZO, or by email at Annaline at townofminto.on.ca. If there's no further comments, we'll adjourn that meeting. Further comments? We're good. We have to move into that. We need a motion to move into Committee of Adjustments. Deputy Mayor Faulkner, Deputy Mayor Elms. Yeah, he was here, that's why. Curtin and Councillor Dirksen. All in favor? If he wouldn't have been here, I wouldn't have messed up.
You did okay.
So this is this one here. Okay, so this is I will chair this public hearing in order to publicly state any this is on MV 2019-01 Brubaker 9538 Ayton Road. I'll call the public meeting to order and publicly state any decision reached by this committee today cannot be used to set a precedent Each application considered by the committee is dealt with on its own merits, and no two applications are exactly the same. Public hearing is to consider a minor variance application file number MV 2019-01 Brubaker. I will call on the Secretary Treasurer, Duff, to state the following information.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. The subject property is legally described as Concession 13, Part Lot 26, Part Lot 27, RP 60, R2114, Part 1, municipally known as 9539 8th Road, Town of Minto. The purpose and effect of the application is to permit the construction of a barn addition and a liquid manure tank with a barn setback of 900 meters or 300 feet and a manure storage setback of 137 meters, 450 feet to the nearest neighbor's dwelling, whereas Section 6.17.2 of the Town of Minto's Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 186, as amended, requires the minimum distance separation to a setback to the nearest neighbor's dwelling of 194 meters, 638 feet to a barn, and 275 meters or 902 feet to a manure storage facility. Notices were mailed to the property owners within 200 feet or 60 meters of the subject property, as well as the applicable agencies on January the 8th, 2019, posted on the subject property, and circulated to staff on the same date, and the following comments were received. Town of Minto Building Assistant, staff report here. Report from Wellington Junior Planner Jessica Rahim, Maitland Valley Conservation Authority Environmental Planner Regulations Officer Patrick Huber Kidby, Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority Environmental Planner Michael Oberl, letter of opposition from James and Wendy McIntyre of 9548 Road, Minto, and then we just received an additional letter, which I'm just going to read out. It's quite short.
Yep.
So this is from Faye and Daryl Hutton. We are opposed to allowing a variance in this case. Setbacks are established to reduce or eliminate conflict between neighbors. Just like windmills, setbacks are set so environmental issues such as odor do not interfere with anyone's quality of life. We are also concerned about the effect on the many wetlands.
I will call upon the applicant or agent of the county and the county planner, I guess, for comments. County planner first. Oh, it's applicant first on this one. Sorry, they messed me up because this is a different committee. Is the applicant here? Would you like to make any comments? Oh, okay. You want to go in the next step, eh? And you'll be there for questions, or did you? Okay. All right. Well, then we'll start with the county planner, and then if you'll be here for questions, and if anybody has any for you, you can have a seat for now.
Thank you again, Chair and committee members. So the subject property is designated prime agricultural or greenlands and greenlands in county Wellington official plan. The property is zoned agricultural and natural environment. So the environmental features are located towards the rear of the property. So as proposed, the addition to the barn is well removed from the natural features. According to the application and the report, NDS report they have prepared by a consultant, the existing bank barn has a capacity of approximately 45 head of cattle. So they proposed an expansion that would result in a total of 120 head of cattle, and this would allow them to milk approximately 60 dairy cows. So the owners indicated they wish to utilize the existing barn, and they want to keep the barn in the existing building cluster. We also understand that towards the rear of the property or all the agricultural fields have been tile drained, so there would be concerns with constructing the barn further back into the tile field. So just to note, if the applicant, as identified, there are some concerns from neighboring property owners that can have here before you to consider. So I just wish to note that now in order to comply, the applicant could utilize the existing barn, so they could fill the existing barn to the capacity of approximately 45 cows. And then what would be required is they'd have to build the new barn and the new manure tank set back at the appropriate distances. So my comment would be that some of the neighbors' concerns may not be eliminated by simply moving the addition further back, as the current barn could still be utilized for cattle and would produce an odor for them. So in terms of that is an option for the owner, but we feel that is minor what they proposed with the addition to the existing barn.
Questions for Curtis now? We might as well do it as we go.
For you, Mr. Mayor, it's classed as a minor variance, but it doesn't even have to be. What's the difference between a major and a minor? It's not even close to being. It's halfway. So, quite a request to make when those conditions.
But yep.
Through the chair, councillor. So when we review the minor variance, we don't just look at a number. So we look at the impacts as well as the number. And in our view, there is an existing barn. They're proposing an addition to it. So we feel that there already is an impact, and that the additional cattle being added is not significant. Now, if it was a new barn and outright a brand new development for a farm, then maybe a different story. We'll look to move the buildings back. But
there's no even. Is there still an MDS issue with the natural environment?
Through the chair, no, I'm not aware of any concerns with the natural environment.
I think Maitland Valley's coming up, and I believe the Maitland Valley report doesn't have a problem.
Yeah, I understand it.
Yes, thank you. Councillor Kenzie did ask some of the questions, but realistically, I kind of agree with Mark. It is close. I'm not sure if I'd want to live across the road, but even if you brought the new proposed barn back around behind, there's no way we'd ever make it to the required setback on the MDS. Presently, is there 51 animals in the barn? Like, is the barn full of animals and presently?
No, it's empty.
It's empty.
Yes.
So we want to build on before we fill it. I mean, I'm assuming that. Okay, thank you. I had some of my questions answered.
Jean, and then give your hand up.
I'm just interested, the original barn is nowhere near the required setback. So was it already there before, or was the house built after, or the chicken or the egg come first? Okay. Oh, so that house used to be attached to that barn?
Gotcha.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right.
Well, that's good local knowledge. I never would have known that. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, lovely. Okay. Answered?
One other question.
Yes.
So currently there's no livestock in the barn? But the potential is 45, but we're looking at tripling that to 120?
With an addition.
Right. But it's still going to be a lot of cattle, which is a fair amount of odor. Okay.
Huh?
All right.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So if I can just say, I don't believe that the owner is living there yet, and that's why there's no cattle there. Is that fair to say? Is that fair to say? Yeah, okay. Just because everybody's wondering why there's no cattle there. Yeah, I mean, you could say a ton of things here, but I guess one thing that I considered was the prevailing winds are actually away from the house in this case. It certainly makes a huge difference. I've lived around cattle all my life, and I can tell you that makes a huge difference. The other thing I was wondering, I guess it's kind of a point of order, and I'm not asking this to be difficult or anything, but the letter from Huttons, are they within 200 feet? Do they actually, were they actually?
Gary has an answer for that.
I took a measurement of their house, and it's about 680 meters away. By doing Curtis's proposal, separating the addition from the existing barn, everything would be pushed in order to get compliance to the MDS. It's going to push it obviously towards the Huttons property. So
Okay.
if concerns are odor
Okay.
to their own house, it's going to be closer and directly to the west.
Okay.
Good. That gives you-
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else? From
That's all for now.
council? And then I'll get Michelle to just hang close there because in case we have more questions. Michelle, did you want to do?
Thank you, through the Mayor Bridge. Just to note that both Saugeen Valley as well as Maitland Conservation Authority have taken a look into the wetlands, and they also have no concerns with the application and consider it to be in nature, and that should, once there comes time for the vote, that Saugeen Valley will take a greater interest. Otherwise, the town, staff building department and public works met, and they also have no concerns with the erection of setbacks to the agricultural buildings that would also meet the intended purpose of the official plans, and that we believe the next request is more desirable as a first of the radius. That's been
Questions for Michelle? Okay, then we would call on the applicant. We already talked. Only, but any person who wants to speak to the application. Anyone else want to speak to the application? That's both for and against, I believe. For and against. I would imagine somebody's here.
How much workable land?
But you want just sorry, would you like to come up and say your name? I'm sorry, and
How much workable land is there to spread the manure for that many cattle? And where's the manure go?
thanks, Judy. Would you help me?
So if he is, and Terry could answer this too, sorry. But so you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. By desiring to build an addition, that would trigger the need for a nutrient management strategy, and so that will have to be all looked after before a building permit could be issued.
So that means for that many cattle, there has to be so many acres.
Yep, and that will all be covered in the nutrient management strategy. Yep.
That's part of the approval.
The MOE does it.
Terry?
Part of the nutrient management strategy, there is what's called transfer agreements, which basically the owner is obliged to transfer X number of nutrients to an additional facility to be spread. So if you don't have sufficient land base on the property that the barn is on, you could transfer it, sell it to another farmer to spread on their property.
So that won't affect our wells or anything.
I think it's concerned very when you're transferring across the road or down the road, it is a mess.
And that's something Public Works would have to deal with. It would be no different than you or me owning two farms a kilometer apart and you're spreading nutrients from one farm onto the other. It doesn't impact, whose property it's going to. It's how you're getting it there and how cautious you are in that aspect. Yep. And Public Works can deal with that. They have in the past. In terms of the well, couple of things. Nutrient Management Act requires a 50-foot separation between a drilled well on or off separate properties. So a well, regardless who owns it, from a barn or a liquid manure system. Construction of liquid manure tanks have changed drastically in the last few years. Nutrient Management Act requires monitoring wells around liquid manure tanks. So the purpose of that isn't it's twofold actually. One, to detect groundwater. So you're not pumping the tank out when the water table's up and causing the tank to pop. The other thing it's there is to detect leaks. So if there's any leaks in the bottom sides of the tank, it's going to be picked up by the perimeter well or perimeter tile. And you're required by the Nutrient Management Act to check that before really you do anything. So you'll be able to figure out right away if there is any issues with it.
Good question, though.
In terms of what? Sorry. Construction types, yes. That's up to OMAF. They're the ones who review the application of the nutrients. I do not know the answer to that one.
So what I gather on the nutrient management plan, before the building permit's approved, they have to be a workable nutrient management plan on there. So that would come back to Terry, and he wouldn't issue the building permit, I believe, until
I
you have
legally
the-
can't, no,
No,
until
can't
the
legally do that,
strategy is
so-
in place.
You might have to come up. I'm sorry.
What's the setback for dry manure storage then compared to liquid?
The MDS distance is less because of the odor potential. So liquid manure tanks, as you know, the biggest time they smell is when you're agitating.
Mhm.
So solid manure, obviously you don't. So that MDS distance is reduced. By what amount, I don't know. But it is less, yeah. Yep. Neighbor, yep. 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 Usually just before they spread. So, oh, no. It's just before. Basically, as nutrients go into a liquid manure tank, they separate solids and liquids. And in order to be able to spread them, you need to re-liquefy the solids. And that's the time it's agitated.
And on the transportation, I totally agree with you. If there's leakage and stuff, I've had that misfortune of driving along and can't put my car in the garage for a week. But we do have bylaws on that. If we can go back to, if we find out who did it and where they went and they weren't doing the proper, we can certainly, that's, again, a lot of our bylaws are done by complaint, so we might not be out there monitoring them when they're moving it. But if, yep, and we'll go out and talk to them, because I'm totally agreeing with you there that, yes, it makes it not safe, and plus it is hard on the road, and it's slippery, and yeah. So when we get notified, we go and talk to the people that hopefully we find out who it is, probably, because it's pretty hard in a small town or a small area to hide a big liquid manure thing going down the road. So we will deal with that. Any other questions? Oh, sorry. Yes. Come on up.
So I would like to know when was the last time that the barn had cattle in it? Do you know? There was cattle ever in that barn? Oh, was it? Okay, and how old is the barn? Is it set up for dairy? Not currently. And it mentioned about the tile drainage. Can you put up the map? Yeah. So
We are.
from what I can understand, the tile drainage is. I'm not sure if I can see this right. The tile drainage is done in this field over here. That's the field across from us.
Okay.
So there's no tile drainage done behind here.
Part of Saugeen's concerns, or what additional information they were looking for, was the tile maps to confirm exactly where the tiles are. As part of the building permit process, they'll be required to cut the tiles off if they are closer than the 50 feet from barn or liquid manure tank.
Because it's interesting that the farm was purchased and quickly the tile drainage was done, and then the rezoning application was made, which and this is what we want to do, add on to a 100-year-old barn that's not set up for it. So that's just my concern, right? And then do all this, not even half of the
Emptiness.
yeah. And they were obviously those. I'm no farmer, but obviously these distances were set up for some reason in the first place. Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah. And I think, Terry, did you want to speak to that the little issue about there's still a process here. Two things: the nutrient management plan has to be done before a building permit comes.
Correct. Yes.
And secondly, Saugeen, I believe in their letter, has stated they want to clarify. I imagine it's the drainage.
Tile drainage. Yeah.
Issue.
Drainage
so
map.
If it is tiled, they'll have to.
And OMAF's going to be double checking the
Yeah.
tiles too. It's one of the sign-offs that the owner and consultant have to do. And I've seen it multiple times where, whether the tile's in for 2 weeks or 10 years, that have to go around a circle around the liquid manure tank with a hoe and basically ensure that they're 100% cut off.
That'd be a concern. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so when the tile drainage was done, we lived down the road, and we've always had, there's some municipal drain around our lawn or something, and in the past, before the municipal drain there was some kind of clog after the road was done, and my husband called because there was a massive lake in the side of our lawn, and Wayne called to the town and they wondered how big was it. Well, there's 12 ducks there. So that was lovely, taken care of. Out came somebody. They found it was blocked. That was fine. Since the tile drainage came in, there has been much more water on our side of the road. And Leon, I think it's Leon Brubaker, he does our snow. Yeah. So he has also dropped in and said there's a lot of water on his land, much more so than there was before as well. So we were concerned about manure and this excess water that has come since this tile drainage has happened. And I don't know whether the municipal drain is clogged or changed to some extent, but there was certainly more water after that.
Do you know if that's a municipal drain or in front of, or is a ditch? Do you know whether
maybe the applicant can help us out with where the outlets for the tiles were, because I do not know that.
Could you do that, Mr. Rubik? Just stand up to the mic there, if you could. Yeah.
Where do you live?
No. Down.
Across from where?
Before you get to Oregon. On the other side of it. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. And you see a lot more water.
There's a lot more water. So initially there was a lot of water. Then there was something when we called the town or township, somebody came out and fixed this duck problem. And then we haven't had the duck problem since, except once that tile drainage was done, much more water came onto that side of the road. And the guy who does our snow owns the land around us and does. And he was also commenting on the amount of water since the tile drainage was done.
I'm not sure what happens there, because you know what it is.
No, that's what I was wondering.
It's the one towards you. And here is where it is. I'm looking at my house down in here.
Might I suggest that the drainage foreman goes out and takes a look at this? Yeah. What happened there doesn't really have anything to do with the barn. Maybe possibly the tiling of the property, but not. So
if we start spreading manure, it is going to have something to do with it, right? If the water is draining onto our land, where all that whatever excess stuff is going into it.
There should be no direct connection from any manure storage facility to tiled land. But that's no different than any other farmland. Like you bury the tile, manure spread over top, worked in.
Something's going wrong.
Exactly, and that it's a tiling issue that we have to figure out what is causing that. So maybe.
Yeah, and I have to find out whether that's a municipal drain or it's just one of our ditches. So
let Mike take a look at it.
Out to have a look at that because obviously there's a cause and effect here somewhere along the line. Okay. Any other questions?
Art? One through Mr. Mayor. Terry, the neighboring properties, is there any possible severances for residential on any of the neighbors' properties? Could that happen?
Is this prime ag, Curtis, or secondary?
It's prime ag.
Prime ag.
Yeah, so they haven't reviewed the potential of the neighboring properties, but if they're in prime agricultural area, they would be able to.
It would just be surplus farm dwelling severances. So sever the existing house off and then rezone the ag land to prohibit residential development. So no new building lots.
think we got everybody. Oh, sorry. Come on. Oh, Steve. Oh, it's all right. Don't worry about it. This isn't public. This is something. It's like, think about it as a drawing room situation. And where we state your name and whereabouts you're.
James McIntyre.
Yes, I thought you were James.
Right across the street.
And you have a letter into us. Yeah. Thank you.
Just want to reiterate that we do have concerns about this. Our well, primarily. Any runoff. The well is close enough, and the setbacks are being cut more than half. After talking to one of the specialists at MAFRA, they were saying that they highly discourage any cutting of the setbacks. They said, yes, it is up to the municipality. I'm really hoping that you're going to decide against this. We're actively trying to sell our house at the moment, and it's a hard enough sell with close to $5,000 in property taxes. Not to mention now we get to live next to liquid manure tank, not even half the recommended setbacks. So
Well, that's, you spelled it out in your letters.
It's just no, we disagree.
Yep.
Put it bluntly.
Yep, that's fine. Thank you for that. All right.
I have two resolutions.
You have two resolutions.
One.
No, sorry.
Yeah,
Yep.
Just, I was wondering, municipality of Minto, have you had many applications to cut the setbacks in half before? That seems like.
Yeah, I guess I would say what the county planner said, and I guess what he was trying to say. I don't recall of having one that much of a setback. I don't remember, but we had many of them. Do you remember?
No, I don't. But I think that everyone is
Different.
unique
Yeah.
on their own. Like you have to consider each one because everyone is different. And I think it says that some.
Yeah, each one. It's not precedent. Right?
Yeah, I think the county
Don't
planner
have the
tried to
wording
explain
right,
that,
but I think it's in there somewhere.
Like the barn's existing, it's been there.
There's a setback for the addition to the old barn, and then another setback for the manure tank. Right. So there's two minor variances that are fairly major.
Yeah, I think the term minor variance is always a misunderstood term. There isn't. I don't think there's a major variance. I believe the Planning Act doesn't call for a major variance. It always just says minor variance, and that's for interpretation. That's why we have these meetings to talk about it, because they don't have, like, if it's half or whatever, they don't say, well, that's going to be a major one. If it doesn't, if there's a problem with it, the county planning staff. I'm speaking for you, Curtis, here. I don't know if I'm right on this. But you basically, they have to look at it. It's all minor variances, even though I totally agree with you. Something that's half is, in my mind, would be, you would think, be more of a bigger variance, obviously. But they don't have the term major and minor, I believe, right? It's all minor variance, and then it's all minor variance. That's what they use as a term. It's not necessarily means it could be 2 feet or it could be like it is today.
Seems quite a stretch for cutting the distance in half. It's not just 10 feet or 15 feet here and there. It's quite a bit of distance for the setbacks.
Right. And that's why we have these meetings, to hear everybody's.
Yeah. And we live on Newman Lane, which is east of the project that he's proposing. And another thing I was wondering, if you turn these people down, do they have an option of tearing the old barn down and just build a new barn?
Barry, you want to answer that one?
So that's always an option. They could tear down the existing barn, build something closer to your property, in compliance with the setbacks, or as Curtis mentioned, they could load the existing barn up with heifers, hypothetically, and then have a separate dairy barn, which would comply with the setbacks. So the existing setback or the existing barn doesn't have to change. It doesn't have to comply with the MDS, just any additions onto it or new facilities.
But I think everybody's worrying about the manure storage more than the barns, you know? So,
we expect
yeah.
even with the keys, with the key that they had, when they spread, like, there can be 2 weeks that's all you have now.
That's,
And that's only, what was it, 40 75 or 65 cattle there, so if you're tripling, we're into a lot more smell.
It depends on the operation of the facility too, how quickly it's cultivated under, depending on what the crop it's being spread on. So there is factors in terms of how long odor would linger. Not for anything but biosolids. They have to be cultivated in within 24 hours, but regular animal manure, regardless of the type, there isn't.
Ron.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
Terry, maybe you can answer this. Does the manure, would it smell all the time it's sitting
in the tank? There's two different types of ways to get manure into a liquid manure tank. One is to pump. Generally, the discharge pipe goes through the sidewall or through the floor. As the manure gets above where that outlet pipe is, there's a crust that forms over the top, which essentially seals the odor in. There's another style of liquid manure tank for gravity applications where it flows over the top. And then there's wherever the manure drops in, generally it doesn't solidify. So there'd be a little bit of odor. You're not going to notice it beside any type of barn, but there's a little bit there. The majority of the time that you smell it is at agitation time. Generally twice a year, depending on the applicant's operation.
So another part of my question is, if we did nothing here, we didn't you didn't put any livestock in there, anyone could come in and spread liquid manure on that property.
Yeah, if someone had a transfer agreement. Yeah.
So spreading is where the smell comes from.
Agitation and spreading. There's nothing you can do about the spreading portion of it.
Absolutely, because I live at the edge of Palmerston, and
yes,
twice a year, the whole town's buried in the smell.
Yeah. But the agitation, that there's control over the MDS distance to the tank.
Sure. Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Tim? Yeah. Tim? Curtis, did you want to? I think it's because you can't put it back onto the.
Through the chair. So as I understand, there's sort of three reasons. First, they wanted to expand utilize the existing barn, what was there, and add value to it. Secondly, they wanted to keep it within the building cluster where they do their hydro and well. And then thirdly, that there's tile drainage that would be disrupted if they moved further back.
Yeah, we can't. Okay.
Well, I guess I would just like to make that comment that the tile drainage, it's more disruptive to your crops if you wait and do it later. So I'm thinking that they were probably looking to get a crop next year, right? But, well. Well, I'm just saying that that's the best time to tile. Maybe they weren't even aware of setbacks. I have no idea. But anyways, and they're pretty quiet. So if we say no, like we need to really make sure that everybody understands here what happens. So if we say no, then that means the existing barn that's there can have 45-ish cattle in just as it is. I don't live on that road, as you all know. But I have driven by, and I would say the property has been cleaned up significantly to what it was. So in doing nothing, they could put cattle in the old barn and then make arrangements to build somewhere else and be totally in compliance with MDS, all the MDS measurements around. So I guess those are the two choices we're looking at, I think, unless there's another option I haven't thought of.
No, I think you hit it dead on. Like it's going to be there. Something's going to be there no matter what. just where it is going to be.
Yep.
Where it's at. Okay.
Just kind of, Mayor Bridge, we're just kind of putting it off then, so Mr. Brubaker can come back with something else, really. Question on the barn. Presently, if he puts his 45 cattle in there, I mean, is with the old bank barn, Terry, it's a different way of farming. So in that particular barn, they move the material out with a loader, wheelbarrows. It doesn't look like there's any manure removal equipment. It comes outside and they pile it in a pile.
I've never physically been in the barn. I assume going by the aerial, it would be tractor unloads, not piled in the yard until it was spread. I assume.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at the liquid manure storage. That's really the place to put manure, because the opportunity for the manure to get off the property is when it's sitting in a pile.
The way that that facility was operated before, I don't know if you can zoom in on the aerial. You can see there's a spillage spot where the nutrients were heading, just to kind of point out, I guess. There's an opening in the yard, right about here somewhere, and that's where the manure was being stored or runoff was happening. The slope of the land is this way towards the swamp, so containing, controlling where runoff goes environmentally, that's not a bad thing whatsoever. That's the tank there. Sorry, yeah.
All right. Has everybody got enough information?
What would be the issue if, or how long, I guess the barn being old and not, I don't know how many cattle there. I don't know, I maybe wasn't paying attention, but I can't imagine that thing is great for cattle. So what happens if they build onto this barn and all of a sudden, oh, we're just gonna take this barn down, it's so good. So then we have something that's already built that's not within half of what it should be, and it could have been somewhere else in the barn. But they're adding on to it because maybe it's easier, it's within, it needs utilize the existing barn. 100 years old, and I don't know what kind of shape that's in, but it's in the building cluster and to make room for that. So, I just see this on the barn now that will make it easier for us to initiate this farm and build this barn, and then all of a sudden, that's actually right, we're going to take it down.
Barry, do you want to speak to that? If they rip down the old barn?
So if they rip down the old barn without an expansion onto the barn, so they just knock it down, the barn contains a legal non-conforming clause, so they could build the exact volume and size that they have now without zoning relief.
Okay.
I figured that.
If they add to it, they would still have that opportunity down the road. There are tons of bank barns out there that they've added expansions, additions to, and it still forms a functioning portion of the barn. So I haven't seen it where it's just an excuse to get closer. I haven't seen that. Okay. It's not a one-off.
So if there was a fire, they could build right there again.
Okay.
Yeah, they've got non-conforming, so because the rules have changed over a period of time, right? Yeah. Pretty good. Okay, you want to read this?
Sure. All right. So I have two resolutions, one being in favor and one being against. So again, an approval is an approval of the application to permit construction of a barn addition and a liquid manure tank with a barn setback of 91 meters and manure storage setback of 137 meters to the nearest major dwelling, whereas we know the original setbacks were 194 meters barn and 275 storage facility.
What we usually do just to show of hands, right? So for the first motion, all in favor? I'm gonna say favor. No. That's 5-2. Okay, so that's to be signed. Yep. Yeah, and I know the people that are here, and I appreciate you coming and talking about all the concerns, and some of those concerns we'll follow up on, making sure that when we do the building properly and make sure that the nutrient management program is put into place properly. And if there's complaints, then we have a complaint process, especially with the like manure going down the roads or those other things. And again, if somebody fouls somebody's well, then there's also there's opportunities there as well to go back through our source water, right, Terry? If or can you?
No, source water
No,
source water protection doesn't apply to this property or anything close to.
That's approval.
Source water and spillage causing issues with the well are two totally separate things. Spillages causing damage to any of your wells would be through MOE. Source water is for municipal wellheads. So
Sorry,
there are things. Sorry.
Yeah. But and we'll make sure we make a note to get the drainage to go out there right away and find out what's going on with that. Chris, you got that? All right. That's it. I'll state to that right away. Council receives the chief. Oh yeah, here we are. I'll state anyone wishing to receive a copy of the notice of decision to please sign the request of notice of decision prior to leaving the council chamber following the meeting. Officially adjourn the meeting. Yes, and a motion to go back to committee. Deputy Mayor Turton, Councilor Elliott, all in favor. That's 3 times. Okay. Thank you. And anybody wants to take off now, Ken, that doesn't want to stay for the rest of it, I'll give you a extension.
It's close. It's close. It's the closest one we've ever had.
So now where are we? Yeah. Everybody gets a chance once first.
Well, and it's fortunate that the Severus house one actually quite surplus from and well, it was for years and years, right? With the road. Oh yeah, it was theirs. Like, oh, they kept it all together. Oh yeah. They farmed it together for years and years and years. That's how I remember it when I was a kid.
That's something we missed.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah. The thing is, so well, yeah, I guess, right? But then,
So you're like Rick Emily. What the hell are you doing voting on that?
I don't know. I know, and I can't say that, right? Obviously, he's got it priced too high or something. And the way this mountain looks now is way cleaned up to what it was. He had been running everywhere. The same bus road here in the house. Okay, so he should be actually saying, he should actually try and get along with this guy. The way to get along with neighbors, get along with neighbors, right?
Okay.
By the time.
66. Which doesn't take anything. What you got?
Not for them. No, they're on side. Yeah.
All right. I think we can get
Maiden Valley.
Mark back sitting. One in River Hamlet.
At any rate,
well, and he was talking about
down
here. The guy's restaurant was saying, "Oh, he's going to build a big."
Mark, we're going to call you Rick.
Rick Emily's back.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Mark. Yes, sir. Rick Emily's
He's
back.
calling you Rick Emily wandering around out there.
I'll get you.
All right. So the next up is public question period. Has anybody any question for the public? Okay. And now we've got correspondence received for information. We've got anybody want to pull any of those?
Sorry, what was the question?
Correspondence.
Oh, no, I didn't mark anything.
Did mark anything? We have a letter from Randy.
Good letter from you.
Yeah. And I'm getting a lot of interesting stuff on Bill 66. I got to delve into it. It's only been a second reading, so I think the county's going to do a better report for us. So,
Yeah, we need a report on that. I think.
has anybody else been getting emails on that? Have you?
I've had a
Okay.
phone call.
All right. Says I think it's county more like for me because it's about 50 people that sent the same letter to me. So I assume it's so we'll have to get some more information on that. But well, we're at Roma. Anybody's at Roma? There's going to be some sessions on Bill 66. So we'll get some both sides of the coin on that to get a bit of an idea of what good side of it and what the people think could be bad. So a lot of it is about protecting the water sources and stuff, which the ones I've been getting seems to be about. So I'll have to find out a little bit more. So can I somebody move the correspondence then? Dean? All in favor? And next up is economic development. Belinda.
So this was our first economic development meeting of 2019. And so there are some things that I want to highlight because they are going to be reoccurring themes, I think, for 2019. So we have some new committee members, and our great agriculture representation continues. So we welcome Rob McLaughlin from CNM Seeds as our ag rep, and Glenn Hall was nominated as the chair of our committee. So Glenn takes over from Jonathan Zettler as our chair, and I'm sure he will be great. I want to make note that you should all mark your calendars for March 6th at 5:30 at the Hairston Community Center. Attainable housing is a huge issue, right along with workforce and transportation in terms of economic development and stuff that's happening, and we need to be focused on this. So we have some speakers coming from CMHC to give us some examples of what's happening across the province in terms of getting really creative on public-private partnerships with attainable housing, and a couple other speakers. So we're going to be opening up this joint meeting to not just our committees as per usual, but inviting our development community and our businesses as well to hear these speakers. And we'll probably follow up that meeting with other roundtable meetings to see what we can do in Minto to move the needle on this in our community.
Where did you say that was?
It's going to be at the Hairston Community Center at 5:30 on March 6th.
That's open to the public. That's just for us.
I wouldn't say it's open to the public. No, it's our joint economic development.
Oh, that's our
meeting.
joint economic development. Yeah. Okay.
But we will be inviting our key businesses and developers. The other thing I want to point out is, as you know, we were running our Filipino traction campaign, and part of that was a Google AdWords campaign, and that ran only 2 months, November and December, and we had over 20,000 views of our Filipino video, and we have had some phone calls, some letters, some emails from Filipinos in the GTA, as well as some other people who are looking to bring Filipino people here from other communities. So Tom and I have been working on that stuff, and looking forward to see what comes out of that campaign. We are getting set to launch our Move to Minto campaign in March, and the kickoff of that will be at the Kitchener-Waterloo Home and Garden Show. We're going to have a booth there. We're also going to be doing some ads in partnering with our development community in the Guelph Wellington Real Estate Guide. You'll see a billboard on Highway 109. Just Move to Minto. There's lots of great things happening here, and we need more people so we can have more people working for all of our employers who are looking to hire. The Chamber of Commerce, make note of this date. Their AGM is on February 4th at Grandma Joe's. Please let me know if you're attending so that I can save you tickets. This is, like us, it's the Chamber's 20th anniversary, and they have some exciting things happening that you will get a sneak peek of that night. And I think that's all I wanted to highlight at this meeting. So if there's any questions.
Questions? Thank you. Motion to accept that. Deputy Mayor Burton and Councillor Anderson, all in favor? And I'm going to turn this over to you, Jean. I think we're going to start our new program here.
Oh, are we?
This is Assistant Fire Chief, and
Excellent.
And you're the chair of this.
I'm the chair.
You're the chair of the fire department.
Okay. Just see what I get there on my agenda.
And if I mess up any time when I don't turn it over, everybody yell at me.
Oh, is it?
I don't we don't want to sit.
Well,
Thank you, Mayor Bridge, and welcome, ladies. And we're going to turn it over to you to do your report on mental health objectives and projections.
All right, thanks, Jean. Well, mine just goes to like magic. We switched. Okay, so tonight's agenda. For those of you, I guess, who don't know us, I guess my name is Kelly Sloats, and I work for the fire department. And Jessica Chapman here is the person in recreation here at Minto. I know who most of you are, so I'm assuming that you know us, but you never know. So, what we'd like to cover tonight is current gaps in mental health, what we'd like to focus on for the future, launch of Minto Mental Health officially, mintomentalhealth.ca, which is a website we've been developing, what our plan is for 2019 and beyond, and any feedback or discussion that you guys have as counselors for us. So, as previous counselors, I guess you may know that we have been working on a mental health initiative for the past 6 months or so. We've been meeting with public health and Canadian Mental Health Association and various other stakeholders in the county. And back in December, we went to a meeting that we've summarized all of the data that we've collected, all the research, public health surveyed over 60 organizations. CMHA's been doing, they have a coordinator of research that's been researching Wellington County. And in December, the current gaps that they presented to us, there's 6 that we are kind of the top 6 priorities. And the first 3 are lack of coordinated system planning, a lack of preventative action, and a lack of targeted approaches for priority populations. So Jessica and I have been working on strategies that we think the Minto Mental Health Initiative can add benefit to these things, not necessarily solve the problems, because mental health is a very complex problem, but we feel that we can add benefit to at least 4 of the gaps that we're going to discuss. So the couple on this slide is the lack. Whoa, go back. Thank you. Lack of preventative actions. That's something that we can definitely add value to, and lack of targeted approaches for priority populations. Those are kind of 2 on that slide that we feel our strategy can help. Okay, very good. That's my sister's slide.
You're acting like sisters.
Yeah,
actually.
be like that. So, the next 3 gaps are lack of awareness about how to access mental health services, a lack of understanding about mental health and existing negative attitudes towards help seeking, and a lack of established community referral pathways for service providers. So again, on this slide, the top 2, lack of awareness, we're looking at as a communications problem and coming up with a communications plan to address awareness of mental health services specific to Minto. The next one, lack of understanding about mental health. We're going to focus on mental health promotion and try to change those negative attitudes toward help seeking. And I think just by tackling the problem as a municipality, we're already making those steps to change those negative attitudes. The lack of established community referral pathways is kind of out of our repertoire. That's more for primary care, but we have been meeting with them to kind of push them along and ask questions about those pathways so that we can provide information to residents if needed. So with that being said, Jess is going to tell you more about the initiative as a whole, but our sort of mission statement is Minto Mental Health is a community-driven initiative that will bring awareness, training, and support services surrounding mental health to the residents of Minto. That's basically our mission in a nutshell.
Jess, make sure you speak into the mic.
Yeah,
I can't
imagine she needs a mic.
We got a great crowd watching.
That wasn't me.
Sorry, I'm the mic person.
So on the slide here, we kind of give you a visual of what we're anticipating it's going to look like. Step 1 is kind of making an awareness. The awareness piece is the awareness of our initiative, the awareness of mental health, and the awareness of what our community needs are, because we have established a committee and they are very vocal with what they're wanting, and we're going to gear our awareness around that. And then it's going to kind of stem into some learning opportunities, learning about mental health, learning how to cope with certain things, self-care strategies, and learning opportunities such as that. And then we're going to kind of go into support services. So we have some some goals that we want to reach and work with service providers and whatnot to bring more up this way, because there's a lot, but then there is the barrier of getting to those services in the city, and so those are kind of the steps we're looking to take. We did have originally it was year 1, year 2, year 3, but we wanted to put it in steps because it may move faster than we anticipated in the 3-year plan. So it's more so steps, and that's our ladder of moving up. So the awareness piece is we've kind of established it to be a positive mental health promotion. So bringing awareness to those the needs of our area, awareness of mental health illnesses and things that individuals face in a day-to-day life. So those kind of feelings of coping with life, feeling like you belong and whatnot. So our example is we have a beautiful boy film that's coming to the Norgan Theatre, which kind of is about addictions and living with those kind of things and coping with them in a family. And then we're going to bring that to the community and hopefully to Norwell to really connect with our schools and our community as well.
Awareness is what we'll focus on for the next 6 months to a year. We feel it's important for the community to kind of trust us, and in order for them to trust us, they have to be aware of what's happening. So awareness of the initiative is something that will be key to building that trust with the community. So that will be the first step in the initiative, and that's what we'll focus on for 60% of this year, I would think.
And then we are going to move into the learning. So it's the recognized training opportunities such as mental health first aid, strengthening families. I actually went to a training about strengthening families, and neighboring municipalities have done it. It's about building relationships between your children and you and finding out what works and how that communication can be kind of blurred sometimes, but finding those kind of pathways that help. Also with skill building workshops and assist training. And then on the next slide, we kind of talk about what we want to offer to our community to kind of learn about. So grief was a big one that was brought up at our committee, is dealing with grief, and whatever that may be, the grief of losing a loved one, the grief of losing a pet, losing a home, the grief of losing your mobility, anything like that. So kind of targeting all everything under the umbrella of grief, because it is a very complex thing as well. And then just work-life balance, self-esteem, anxiety, resiliency, and assist training actual credible trainings as well. And then we move on to support services.
So the way that we're defining support services is there are services available that prevent people from entering the system or support people through their journey in the healthcare system. And a good example of that is peer support groups. When we did research with community members, we thought that peer support groups would kind of be a second-year initiative that we'd be introducing once people became aware of the initiative and trusted us and were interested in it to attend the trainings, and then maybe they would reach out for some sort of informal network of peer support. However, in talking to our community, they believe that peer support should be almost our #1 priority for this year, but peer support in the sense of an informal network and barrier-free, so you don't have to go through your doctor or need a referral to build that resiliency circle. You can just, access it through the community. So that's what we're defining support services. So some other ideas that came out of that were community support boards, which are just another communication piece that we could put in the community for people that need programming. Everything could be kind of central access. Peer support groups, community connectors, so just having people in the community and knowing where to go to those people so that if you have questions on how to access services, they can answer them for you, sort of like a travel agent, if you will, of mental health. Resource kits or pass kits, which are like coping kits for our goal is to kind of outfit all of the businesses in Minto with resource kits in case they have people on staff who need help, then they can access the service right there specific to Minto. Our Minto Mental Health website, which we'll be talking about soon, and safe spaces in Minto is another thing that we're looking at. And the beauty of our definition of safe spaces is it can also be something such as a peer support group. It's not necessarily a safe space like in an office or something. It's just that network of safe space so that people can build resiliency with people who've already been through what they're going through. So for 2019 and beyond, our official Next steps are to actually launch the initiative, which is coming up pretty quickly. So as you may have seen on social media right now, we're just finalizing a logo for the initiative. We had 10 entries from the community, from residents, and they're currently being voted on. So the logo contest closes this Friday, and then we'll have an official symbol for the initiative. And then our launch event is perfect platform. Bell Let's Talk is January 30th, 2019. So we're going to be doing some community outreach that day and officially kicking off our resource website. So on January 30th.
So our day looks, we're spreading ourselves out over all of Minto. We're going to start our day at Grandma Joe's in Clifford, and we're going to do just have a booth, and then we're going to project our website on the wall there while people are coming in, and we've been launching it, and our committee members are going to try and come in when it works for them to help us out. So we're starting at Grandma Joe's from 8:30 to 11:30. Then we're going to move to Foodland in Palmerston and kind of get the traffic there over lunch and everything. And then we're going to move to Harry Stone's for an evening event from 6 till 9 there, in every area projecting or displaying our website. And Khalees and I are working on adding a bunch of resources to that now so we can have a good platform to start off of.
So on top of that, all of the businesses that have helped or helping to promote mental health are going to be giving brochures or tabletop cards to all the participants that come into the business, not just when we're there, like for the whole day. So the reach will continue once we leave. So the mintomentalhealth.ca website that we are developing with OSIM is essentially a directory of all the resources available in Minto. But the thing that we like about it, and the thing that people are asking is, if you have a problem, for an example, say you have an addiction problem, then you need to know the organization that you need to go to in order to access the program, right? So what we're doing is we're flipping it, and we're doing it program per program, not per organization. So when you type in find service on the website and you want to find Alcoholics Anonymous, for an example, all of the programs will pop up in the area for a person with that addiction, not the organizations, which is what we think is going to be extremely beneficial, because a lot of the feedback that we're getting from the community is that if you don't know the organizations that own those problems, you can't access service. So we're taking the barrier off of those organizations and we're putting it all on one platform. So if you type in, again, crisis lines, all of the crisis lines come up across all organizations, not just mental or CMHAs or women in crisis or anything like that. They all come up in one place, and you can click on the listing and it'll give you the phone number. It'll give you exactly how to access the program, whether it's through your doctor, whether you can self-refer. All of that information is on those listings, so hopefully that will kind of eliminate that barrier for people of not knowing how and who to access service with. So that's launching on that day.
And especially just to touch on that, working in the field throughout my schooling, that was always one of the things that was brought up, was that we know there's all this here with CMHA say, but what is there for my specific need? And that's kind of like we said, taking away that barrier. And if you're in crisis, you don't want to have to go through a list of numbers and be like, I don't know which one to call. So there's a crisis section there, and it has Kids Help Phone right there. It has women in crisis who are dealing with abuse or anything that way. And it's because you kind of have tunnel vision when you're in a crisis, whatever kind of crisis it is. So it minimizes those kind of distractions outside that you can kind of hear right in and get those help you need as soon as you. So our plan from January to March, like Khalees said, starting with our launch on the 30th, next Wednesday, and then moving forward, Ford had approached us about A Beautiful Boy film. It's a film about a family who's dealing with addictions. They go through addiction, they go through relapse, it's about survival. And the struggles that not only the individual is experiencing, but the family. And it aligned quite well with what we're doing in our committee meeting. It was brought up that there's not a lot about awareness about addictions, and in our community there's a lot of addiction that happens that goes unseen. And this is kind of the first kickoff to kind of say it's okay, but there are help, and there is help. And then in showing that, we're going to show it for the community on Family Day Monday, and then we're hoping to communicate with Norwell. I've been in communication with them about having one for the high school students to kind of introduce what it could look like when you're introduced to different kinds of things that I'm addicted to. And then at that event, there'll be resource kits that are handed out as well with what we have so far, coping mechanisms, self-care cards to deal with if you're struggling, kind of tips and whatnot. And then those resource kits are obviously going to grow as we grow and our resources kind of let us.
Okay, and then the March 27th is a tentative date. It's not confirmed. We're trying to come up with creative ideas that we can sort of underlie with mental health messaging, because some people we're finding may not be interested in the topic, or they might be interested in the topic and they're not sure. But our theory is if we can find things that people are interested in, it'll come out based on that, and we can kind of slide that mental health message in kind of on top of it to kind of get them interested in it. That's our theory. So the self-care blend loose leaf tea workshop we're hoping to bring in March, and you can come blend your own custom loose leaf tea and learn about blends for stress, motivation, and mood. So that's a self-care awareness event that we'll be bringing to Minto for people to understand self-care and self-awareness, and then make their own blend of tea. So that will be something that comes in March. And then things that we just have on the go. So right now we have on paper close to 500 resources or programs to go onto our website that we're currently cataloging. We need to finalize our logo and create the assets surrounding that. So as I said, the logo contest closes Friday, and then we'll be able to create assets after that. Our initiative launch is next week. We have meetings with service providers about pathways to care and our website and how they can utilize it. A couple of ideas that have come from them is potentially using it as kind of a calendar that if counselors want to come up to this area, they can put their availability into the website and you can go on and see like Monday and Wednesday, let's say they're at the United Church in Clifford, and Fridays they're in Palmerston or something. But if that changes, then they can go and update their availability, and then people can access them kind of anonymously in those safe spaces that we're looking to create. We're looking to meet with schools about the project and potentially adding the website to the home browser of all the computers at the school. We're looking at completing research on peer support groups and developing program guides for that. I've been in contact with Healthy Minds, I believe it's called, out of Australia, and they actually have an informal peer support group network. In 2012, they went through a variety or many suicides, and they've implemented this network, and their suicide rate has pretty much like gone away. So it's taken them 5 or 6 years to implement the program, and so I've been kind of talking to them and doing research on how we can bring that program to Minto. So that's hopefully coming down the pipe, whether it'll be near the end of this year or summer. We are trying to make it a priority, but we have a lot of things in the mix right now. So, and then we're looking at various funding opportunities to fund the initiative. So we do have a couple grants that we're going to be looking at and some fundraising options. So that's pretty much it. There's really nothing. I don't have a decision for you guys. It's just kind of information about what we've been up to and what we plan on doing, and if you have any questions.
You have to ask Jean.
Oh, Jean. Sorry, guys. Sorry, Jean.
How you doing, Ron?
Yeah, I'm good. Could I have the floor?
Certainly.
Thank you. Through Jean. Question I have is I say this is really good. I think long overdue that kind of support our community, but often we see families of addicted people and people are having mental health problems, and the whole family's painted with the same brush. That member of the family's done things that aren't suitable or not the proper thing to do, or break the law or whatever has happened. That family has that to bear because they've got to go out in the community now and be part of the community. They feel, even if the community doesn't treat them that way, there's that feeling of guilt. That's my peer or my family peer has done something. Is this going to be available for something like for them to search out?
Yep. My first thought on that would be like they could certainly form a peer support group for other families that are experiencing that, and then they can go through it together. but whatever type of resources they're needing, they can access through the website for sure.
And on our website, we actually have like a family and children and family kind of section that kind of touches on what like support for family members. A lot of the support that is for individuals who are suffering with mental health, there's another support from the family members who are dealing with this individual. So that is something that needs to be kind of blasted across our community too, that there is support for people who may not directly be dealing with mental health, but indirectly through. So the caregiver burnout or the caregiver, that kind of guilt you feel
Yes.
going in the community, supporting them to make, essentially we want to make our community feel safe for everyone, anywhere you go. That safe space could be your entire community. It's going to take some time to get to that, but letting them know, like they said, that there is stuff, and we're all ears to if they ever need support navigating. We can.
Sure.
We do
Thanks.
have family members on our committee that are currently experiencing something like that right now.
So if I have somebody ask me, I could refer them to this.
Yeah.
Let them search
Yeah, so
the initial contact.
Yeah, we're looking at, as I said, launching the actual website on the 30th, and we'll have all of that communicated to us.
And I do want to touch on that our committee has individuals who have family members suffering with mental illness, individuals who are suffering with mental illness. We have a mixed bag of young males and working males, working females, young females. So it's a good diverse group that can hopefully touch on all of those areas that we're hoping.
All right, thanks.
I think Mark did.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, it's not me. It's through Jean. I just didn't know she saw your hand. That's all.
I certainly appreciate your initiatives. Deficiencies in healthcare, we see them every day, and I find it hard to swallow when our doctors and health system that we have to do that. The community has to do that. Just when I'm reading this and hearing it suggesting that our local healthcare is not doing the job for us, and we have, and anyway, I applaud you for taking this on.
And just a little history on that, Mark, and it was in June, I believe, last year we had a suicides. We've had some more since then, unfortunately. There was about 150 people came out to the high school, maybe even more. I can't remember. Police, there was lots of people. There was a lot of interest, and I'm not really blaming Canadian mental health. I mean, it's the system is overstressed. I mean, and we could sit back and sort of say, well, we got to have more mental health workers out here and everything. Or I think what we've done as a council and what the council asked police and guests came on board to do, we put some resources into it. But I love the approach, because you already got people from the community. That's what they wanted to do at that meeting. I sat at those meetings, we had breakout groups. There was people that suffered through mental illness, or they had family members that had suffered through it. They were willing to put some skin in the game, I call it, and be part of the solution, not the problem. And I think what we're looking here, and what I see from your approach here, is just a way to guide us through some of those things. And I really appreciate it, and I would personally, and I hope the rest of the council supports you as much as we can. And you remember when Jess came on board, part of her with the after school program was she brings a skill set to help police with this. And of course, police have been working with the fire department for all the issues we have, and our firemen go out and see that. And you've done a great job with the families, and that we just kind of, I think we can add value to it. But I agree with Mark. It's too bad that it's falling on the municipal shoulders. But at the end of the day, we can sit back and watch our people suffer, and one more less suicide. I don't want another suicide if we possibly.
I think our goal is to be a proactive community opposed to a reactive community. So being that proactive community will hopefully kind of spread out to other communities to know that if, like, lack of better words, our local healthcare systems are failing us, then hopefully from the ground up, we as a community can be resilient.
And we've been working with our local health units. We've been with the impact unit and all the other stuff.
Like, we don't want to say that
No.
our local health
No.
We're just trying to add value to the services and maybe include support services that, as I said previously,
will help people through their journey, because we're finding that, for lack of like putting it in simplistic terms, if you can have a friend that's going through the same thing that you are, that adds more value than any resource that you, like just that building that connection with somebody else that's already gone through it is way more beneficial than talking to somebody that you really don't know.
And there's some things that people like the healthcare system and our service providers can do, and there's some that they can't do in their capacity. So it almost takes the resilient communities to kind of take that next step.
If I could just speak to a couple things. I have a question. What does the acronym ASSIST stand for?
Applied Suicide Intervention Skills Training.
Okay, I figured it was something like that. And just to speak to the point, Mark, about the local healthcare systems, and I wouldn't say that they're failing us. They don't have enough capacity.
That's what I mean.
But they have come light years. In the time that I have worked at our local healthcare facilities, there used to be a time where if you tried to call for mental health assistance in the hospital, you had a buzzer bounce on somebody's desk and then finally answer, because we had no after-hours care. We now have one number to call for 24-hour. Trellis has worked really, really hard out of Homewood to provide community service. We've used the OTN network so that the mental health people can not spend half the time driving from place to place. If we can find them a confidential room, they can talk to the people, and in cooperation with the emergency departments, which are pretty prepared to manage mental health patients, but the hospitals are addressing those issues. Building a safe room in a small hospital with 2 staff members is almost an impossible task. We simply don't have enough members in our hospital to safely put somebody in restraints or keep them safe once they are restrained. But we've worked at all that. Carolyn Skimson was tireless from Fergus at leading a mental health initiative to get us some help. We pled with the government for years to get the Cape unit built from 8 beds to 11 beds. We'd like 14, but we don't have them. But they have a psychiatrist who's in charge of it, who's managed to do tremendous work at getting kids working through the system and having communication back with their primary hospitals so that we can manage their care better. There simply aren't resources. There aren't enough psychiatrists, and when we were talking about young people, nobody wants to take on young people's challenges. There's no adolescent psychiatrists, virtually none. So they struggle with finding enough support, but we have come light years. There is help out there. I can only commend you guys for the great work we've done here, and I think that's the job. Communities have to work with the hospitals. We know hospitals. We can't. We've got hallway medicine. You don't want mental health patients in the hallways. It's not safe. It stresses our police forces, so it's a collaborative effort with everybody working together, and we're working really hard at it, but I think the community needs to be involved, and people need to understand that you can't see mental health issues. You don't know what people are going through. You don't know what's going on behind the closed doors of their homes. And if parents are bringing kids to Emerge, you know those children have exhausted every resource they have. Their parents are always the last to know. And if they're coming to our Emerge department, we need to give them some help. And we've worked really hard at getting that, but I think this will help to prevent that, because the system is at capacity and beyond. We need to try and not have them there.
That's what our focus is, prevention.
Right. So good work. Well done, ladies.
Excuse me, we have a component on the floor.
Am I allowed to accept a comment from the floor? There's a hand up at the back.
Yes, David. Well, it's your wife said that you could talk, not me.
Thank you, Terry. You know, this is a big concern. It's the whole community, not only mental health. We have so many resources that we can utilize. So, like your social services, but also our library system. You know, what you need is a quiet place for people to do. We have a great library system in our county, and in our municipality alone, we have great libraries in the common area. So, if you want support services, feel free to reach out to us. Social services. Mayor Bruce mentioned the impact units do a great job out there, because mental health workers work with our OPCs to deal with stuff specifically.
Maybe, Dave, you can send some of that county money to us, eh?
We will work on that.
Thank you, Chris. And we'll be there for the opening, hopefully.
Mm-hmm.
I should do a motion.
We need a motion, Jean.
Oh, sorry. We need a motion to accept that report. Councillor Elliott and Deputy Mayor Turton. That's it?
All in favor?
All in favor.
We're getting there. It's early days.
Yeah, I'll get there. I need the gavel.
Oh yeah, well we could pass the gavel. Welcome. And we have launch it. Linda.
Nobody
I will
crush
be
it, huh?
very brief.
God.
So launch at
Oh,
Minto, this is our
sorry.
5th year. We are simply renewing our lease. We had the budget meeting last week, so you're familiar with Launch It's budget, and our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce is really key in that project. And our amazing landlord, being very gracious with us in terms of rent, is continuing to do that. So the report speaks for itself, and we're just looking for the go-ahead to sign off on our 2-year lease.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Very good. Thanks, Blair.
That's how simple it is.
That's how simple that is, see? Here he is.
We've heard him today.
I know. Sorry.
Earned your money
Too,
today.
actually. So this is my November, December, and kind of year-end 2018 permit stats. So we ended off the year in good shape. Excuse me. November we had 15 building permits issued worth about 2.5 million, which kind of added to our good year. December conventionally slow. We did 9 permits, 4 new houses worth about 1.9 million. So that did help. So the wrap up the 2018 summary. So we issued 217 permits worth 36.5 million, which is pretty decent. So it's right on track with our normal current normal permit numbers. 2017 was 222 permits worth 28.8 million, and 205 in 2016. So we did remain strong through the latter part of the year. Just a couple of highlights for the last 2 months. So we did 9 new residential units, 7 singles, and 1 semi. We did a new barn as well as a new building in our Palmerston Industrial Park. So we rounded out the year at 51 new residential units, which is right on par to our county's growth pattern. Average permits, so we normally issue 189.2 is kind of our 10-year average, so we're sitting about 15% higher than that at 217. Just a touch under 2018, or 2017, so I was a little disappointed there. Construction value, this is my depressing slide. We wrapped up the year, as I mentioned, 36.5 million, so it's only about 250 shy of doubling what our normal 10-year is, so that was
found that 250.
Off the chart. I know. I tried to squeak in a few extra permits, but no one came in. So. That is about all I have, unless there's any questions.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Bridge. So we're looking at 2016, it was 21, 2017, 28, 2018, 36. So is there a guarantee that 2019 will be 44?
Unfortunately, as I mentioned in budget times, I have no idea year to year how things are trending. From the people who are calling me at this point and the inquiries I'm getting, I'm thinking it's going to be on track with last year. So I think we're going to be in awesome shape again. I know of some barns that are coming in, getting housing inquiries. Our subdivisions are doing well, so I could be keeping myself out of trouble again this year.
Good. Great. Good. A motion to accept. Mayor Curtin and Councillor Goodson, all in favor? Thanks. Good job, Terry. Well done. And pass it along to your staff that are actually doing all the work. Well, Michelle, right? Like you're there. I mean, I see Stacy's not here, but
No, Michelle's coming up.
oh, Michelle's coming up. Yeah, she's going to come up right now. There you go.
Okay. So I do apologize. My voice is
Yeah, you're losing your voice.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry. So before us, we have another surplus farm dwelling application for consent land division. And the purpose is to sever a 2-acre parcel with an existing dwelling, shed. It also has a barn and grain bin. The barn and grain bin are to be removed, and the retained parcel is approximately 38 acres, and that land is designated as prime agricultural and will require rezoning to ensure that we creating more residential units, and at that time we will also look at the accessory structures. The both parcels are zoned agricultural and meet the minimum frontage and lot area requirements. The building department and public works staff met to review, and there were no major concerns, as the proposed use maintains the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. Standard conditions are being recommended to ensure zoning compliance, financial conditions, appropriate access, and reapportionment.
Questions, Michelle?
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Michelle, looking at that, there's 2 acres there. You get rid of the barn and the granary. Is there potential for 2 lots there down the road?
It's dead.
No, dead no. Thank you.
And just on that, I mean, if the fact that we're able to do this rather than, as you know, what was happening in the past is people would rip the buildings down, then we'd lose the tax revenue on the house, and we just had big pieces of property going down. And I don't want to get into my rant about going in 25% of the farm taxes. Anyways, which is not the farmer's fault. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
Right. But anyways, I think this is a great opportunity to do what we've been doing, and we can't build on it. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
100%. You're right.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Council Dirksen. All in favor? She agreed with me, so you were a little bit of love there. Okay, thank you. Oh, one more. Oh, there's one more. Sorry, I had 2 of them there. Go ahead.
So in similar fashion, we are going to end with another part lot control exemption, only this time it is not for a George Street semi-detached unit. For the very first time, we're going to have one for Brighthaven Homes. This one will be slightly different than what you're used to seeing before, because we are taking 5 parcels and we are going to look to divide them into 12. So there are currently semis that are on there and sold, and this is all this so that an individual piece, and then the last portion being block 23 is to put up the townhouse units, which we got to see minor variance.
Questions? Again, it adds to what we want with the density situation and trying to get some attainable housing.
So our recommendation is that the council receives the report and will compensate.
Can I have a mover and a second for that? Councillor Elliott, Councillor Anderson, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Quinn. This is almost the last. Quinn, if you could come up. Thank you for your. Now, just to preface this, this is sort of the final stage. Tonight's the night we have to make a decision. I just want to say I give the staff a lot of credit. They've been gathering all the information for us. The public for giving us information as much as they wish to give us, and we had a couple of different ways that happened. So I think Quinn can sum it up in the report, and then if we have questions, we can certainly and especially discuss what's going on. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep this pretty brief. There's been no major legislative changes since the last time I spoke to you. So basically all I want to say is we have used 2 methods of civic engagement, one being the public meeting and the other being Bang the Table. All of the information from Bang the Table was given to you last week for you to look over, so there shouldn't be any surprises. Basically 136 people voted to opt in, 67 to opt out, so it's about 66 to 33%. The public meeting too, there was about 80 people there, 13 chose to speak. Some of them spoke for, some of them spoke against. Those minutes are there. I will say I did have a typo. There was 500 signatures on that petition, not 200. That is on me. As of 5 o'clock today, 248 of the municipalities in Ontario opted in. That's about 60%. 71 opted out. It's about 17%. That leaves 95 or 23% have yet to make a decision. Of those 95, we are one, obviously. Guelph and Massa hadn't notified yet, and they opted in yesterday. North Huron as well. They opted out yesterday, but haven't notified. So that leaves 4 of the 7 municipalities in Wellington County.
3.
Yeah, 3 and 3, and then there's us. And then most of the municipalities in the surrounding area of Minto, ones that touch our borders, the majority of them have opted in, other than Mapleton, Centre Wellington, Southgate.
Everybody had a chance to read
That's really good.
well done. And as they say, we've had a lot of good information. And it's strange that there hasn't been a change in the legislation, because usually every week they come up with something new, but they didn't this time. So I guess we'll just open it up for any discussion.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. So I've been a counselor for 15 years, and I don't believe that I've ever talked to as many people on one particular issue as I have about the cannabis issue. I mean, I was at the meeting, the open house meeting, and it was extremely interesting to listen to everybody's opinion. And I mean, this is one of the ones that I've really done my homework on, and I'm convinced that I'm going to vote the right way. So thank you for all your information as well. I mean, you guys have worked tireless on this, and tonight's the last night, January 22nd, and tomorrow we'll have all the stats. So thank you. Oh yes, yeah, and I'd like to ask for a recorded vote on this. Yep.
I concur with Deputy Mayor Turton. This has been a compelling issue with a lot of viewpoints, a lot of talk, a lot of consideration. I certainly have thought more about this one than I have on practically anything we've come across in 4 years of council. Far surpasses the chicken coops and even the sale of water. And I'm somewhat conflicted. I'll admit to that. There's pros and cons. I looked through the survey. I was at the public meeting. I think some people are misunderstanding what we're doing here tonight. Some people are just dead set against the legalization of marijuana. That ship has sailed. Mr. Trudeau brought that forward, and we're here. It's the new reality. It's a new way of living for some of us, and we're going to take some time to wrap our minds around it. A lot of people who were for it because they thought it would be a supply of medicinal marijuana, and it's not. You're not going to be able to purchase that at those retail shops. You're going to have to go online to get that. We have already approved a production facility in town. It is the new wave of the future. It's where it's going, and medicinal marijuana has some tremendous benefits for a lot of people who don't get pain relief anywhere else, which was the primary cause of our opioid crisis, which has been compounded by the addition of carfentanil. But regular fentanyl was a problem, Percocet was a problem, opioids are a problem, and they've been prescribed by the medical professionals for years and years and years. Cannabis is a realistic option for some other people in a non-addictive medication source. So I just kudos to everybody who's come out and spoke for and against. It is a complex issue, and I don't think we're finished yet. It'd be nice if we knew exactly what the government's going to do and what other rules and regulations they're going to come forward with. I don't think in reality we're going to see a retail store in our town limits for quite some time because of our size. So whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I don't know. It is available for those who have medicinal needs. It's going to be readily available. The online stores are going to make it available for people wherever, or if they need to travel, they can. But those retail stores are not going to be selling medicinal. So medicinal needs will have to deal with their physicians and online ordering. And that's all. But thank you so much for all your work. It has really been an interesting issue to be part of.
My first point was that I've read a lot on this issue, and I know that's the experience of everybody around the table. It's also one that we've received an incredible amount of very passionate advice on from both sides, and again, that's the experience of everyone. And there's been a lot of public engagement, which I think is great, and a big thanks to our staff for putting information together and monitoring Engage, Minto, and so on, just so that we would have the best information that's available to us. My biggest challenge is that, frankly, I can see some logic on both sides, and so that could speak to being open-minded or being a good person for the debate team, but it's harder to make a decision on when you're kind of conflicted back and forth. But I have made a decision. I think the province has put us in and I've put so many words into this spot, but I think ludicrous maybe position, a situation forcing a decision when we really don't have all the information. That makes it really difficult in my mind. Cannabis is legal in Canada. We can't change that, but just because it's legal doesn't mean it's good. And so I just want to admonish everyone to please be careful. it is clear that everyone will not be happy with every one of us as individuals. And so it also follows that everyone will not be happy with all of us as a group in a collective decision making. However, regardless of individual voting, we all need to support the decision of this entire council and then work towards that, whatever that is.
Ron?
Yeah, I guess I'll join the crowd in the
It's your last chance.
yeah, in the fact that I did my own little survey, as David said. People come to me, but I went to people. I talked to 18-year-olds. I talked to people at our church. I talked to 80-year-olds. I talked to 50-year-olds. Different people that I talked to, and their thoughts about it. And some of the people I talked to had no interest in it until I talked to them about it. So it was kind of a neat thing what they bring forward to me, and gave me ideas where I wanted to go with this. I've changed my mind. Yes, no, no, yes, and as information came in, and I'm telling you, the information was good on negative, good on positive. It's a really difficult situation for decision making for myself. I've been in council again since 98, 88. My God. I forgot 10 years of my life. So anyhow, I have made up my mind, and I guess you'll find out on the recorded vote.
So I think I'm the same with everybody else here. Lay awake at night and you're like, I've got points yes, I've got points no, I've got points that don't matter, right? And I did a lot of research on it, the financial aspect of it. I talked to a lot of people out there, a lot of people. I asked the question because I want to know. And I think for me, a lot of the people really didn't care. You know, I had yeses and I had nos, but a bulk of them really didn't care. And I think when you look at the poll online, it shows that too, because our population and only so many people go online. I think for a lot of people, like you say, cannabis is legal. I think that boat has sailed. A brick and mortar is what we're deciding on. But I think our biggest challenge is how we're going to enforce it down the road, because whether we have a store or not, it's going to come to Minto somehow. Whether people drive to Listowel or wherever to pick it up, it's going to be a Minto. Our concern, I don't think, is a store. I think it's how we're going to enforce it.
Mark?
Okay, the vote to me is nothing to do with the pot shops, to do with medical marijuana. Vote for funding. In or out, we're going to get some funding out of it. It's a 2-year program. Beyond that, that 30 million they're going to split ends up to be $2 a head in one municipality because it's per capita. They downloaded something we didn't want to deal with because they didn't either. Pot shops are not going to happen here, not in this term anyway. If they do, it'll be a surprise. We'll get a vote again. Criteria may change for the whole system. Like some have said, we really don't have enough. It happens so quick. Money, it's not a lot of money. It's some. You're going to get 5,000 anyway, and if they go by per capita, it's going to work out to around 7. And we're limited to where we can spend that. So anyway, my vote will be on the funding end of it, whether it's realistic or not to do this. If things change and we get another vote in our term, we have to look at it again, of course, no matter which way we vote. That's about all I have to say on it right now.
Well, first of all, I appreciate the council's doing their due diligence on this, and I know you have. It's not something we waited to the last minute we got to get this done by midnight, or we're not going to, it won't matter what we say, so we can't debate too much longer. We have 3 hours. I don't think anybody else wants to sit in here for 3 more hours. And I appreciate the people in the public, both for and against, that came up with it. And I heard a lot of scary things, and I know about addiction and whatnot. And we talked about that today. We heard our mental health situations, and part of it is sometimes people are using that as their ability to cope. And there's all the things. My concern is, it is at some point pointed out, it's a legal product now. I feel that, and I'm not sure I agree totally with Mark. I think there's more past the 2 years, I believe, in funding, depending on what happens. My concern is if we, and I, why the government did this, really, I struck my, and I kept saying, well, why over Christmas they give us this lovely little thing, between taking away oomph or telling us wait for it, and putting this on our heads with a really short window. And I kept thinking, why? And I knew we worked hard at FCM when the government came upon it. The taxes they're going to make on marijuana, they were keeping 75% at the federal level. Now, we were hoping that would come down to some of the issues, like some of the people that need to deal with the consequences of legalizing marijuana, because there is going to be consequences. People are going to be able to do it quicker, and it's going to be legal. So all that. So I looked at that and I said, so why? We worked hard at FCM and Racing Community Municipalities to get the federal government to give another 25% to the provinces. We also put it on there that they should give it also to the municipalities. That 25% should directly flow to the municipalities. So we're going to have the policing issues, the bylaw issues, all the things that are going to be happening on the ground. We're going to have it at the local level. So we didn't want the provincial government to put it in their coffers. So out of the blue, they come up with this, and I think they knew they didn't have any product. So, they come up with the blue and said, okay, now it's per capita, as Mark points out. But if we get a whole bunch of people opting out, and the way it is that I see it written, and I might be wrong, but I've done enough research, you don't get a chance later to opt back. If you opt back in, you can't use any of the money going forward down the road, past the 2-year period. So I'm looking at our program we talked about tonight with our mental health issues and whatnot, and I believe we can use it towards that type of thing, education and all that. And our youth are the ones that I really worry about, because I believe what public health tells us, that if you're until you hit 25, but that's the same with alcohol, same with a lot of things, but youth shouldn't be into those things because their brain is still developing. So I really understand all that medical stuff, not as much as Gene does, but I understand some of it. But I think the issue today isn't about whether you believe in marijuana should have been legal or not. It's about whether we want to continue on with funding. And that's where I'm going to look at it. And I totally agree. I don't think we're going to see a shop for quite a while, because they're going to be a long time getting the production up, and then we'll have to deal with it. But we at least we'll have the money, hopefully, at that point, the bylaw officers that we can work with, and we have the education part that we can deal with at the local level. So I guess I'll call for the vote now. Is there any more debate or any more discussion? Okay. So.
Say that we do have 2 options.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Kind of like our.
Yeah. Like sort of. Yes, we do have 2 options. So you want me to say it?
Yeah. Okay. I think we can.
So we have option 1, that the Council of the Corporation Town of Minto receives the clerk's decision January 14th report regarding the licensing of retail sale account, and further that the council hereby opt in to permit the retail sale cannabis in the town of Minto. I guess I'll just say that one. And then the option out would be to opt out. So I will call the question on opting in, and then recorded vote. We're doing a recorded vote. That was, by the way, requested from some of the public, and I think that was a good opportunity to look over that. So, to which way did we go?
So option 1 or option 2. So 1 is yes.
So.
So do 1.
Yeah, that's the option 1, and then if you have a majority, then that we don't have the option 2.
So I'm going to go through. I'm just going to start here and go down. So this is on option 1. We're opting in. So Councillor Anderson.
No.
Councillor Dirksen.
No.
Councillor Elliott.
Yes.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Curtin. Councillor McKenzie.
4-3.
I don't think I have to do the other.
No, you don't have to do that.
Nope.
That's why we had a recorded vote. You don't have to do that. Okay, and again, thank everybody for their due diligence. We don't need motions in there. And I turn it over to Deputy Mayor Turton to do the treasurers.
Thank you very much, Mayor Bridge. I'm going to ask our treasurer to explain to us the accounts so we can approve them.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Hopefully.
I'll
That was
try
well
to-
done.
Okay. Anyway.
Oh, so we can vote on them.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
So, no huge contractor bills this time. So, more routine stuff. In admin, I guess our biggest is our payroll. The Manulife, just by the way the calendar went, we 1,000. We have been working on our flood mapping modeling. So we have an engineering bill and doing some tree bank removal for a total of about $12,000. Something that's come through our economic development is our structural grant. So we have $40,000, and that went in under 2018. I think we pretty much matched our total allocation to our total budget this year. In the Palmerston Industrial Park, we had some servicing for Westerio at $32,000. Buying more salt, another $15,000. Had a lot of icy roads these days. And kind of a fun one at the Palmerston train station. They contacted with Wellington Heights Secondary School in Mount Forest, and they bought kids' hand cars, so they'll be available for that. And to help support our busy building department, we've got another computer and laptop burning through them. So anyway, those are the highlights.
Questions for our treasurer? Hearing none, the recommendation of the Council of the Town of Minto receives the treasurer's report dated January 16th regarding approval of accounts and approves the Town of Minto accounts by department for December 2018. Moved by our mayor, seconded by. Thank you. Councillor Gunson, all in favor of this motion? Against? That's carried. Thank you. Passes the chair back to our mayor.
Yeah. I guess I pass it back over to no, this is Chief CAO. Oh, it's
This
the
is
CAO report. Sorry. Saw the fire there. I was going to give you another bit of work there. Okay, turn it over to Chris.
This is just a very routine agreement.
Yeah.
It was actually, as Belinda said earlier, this is a 20-year agreement that is stopped. It's ending because we're 20 years old. So Union Gas, which is now being called Enbridge Gas, they are merging. So this is an agreement with Enbridge Gas, and this agreement just covers pipes in the ground, who notifies who when there's work being done, our public works, what they have to do to notify if stuff's damaged, how it's put back to original condition, who pays for it. It's just a routine agreement that we had with them that's 20 years old, that it's time to renew it. So the thing with it is that they've asked is you do a first and second reading with it tonight, and then it will go to the Ontario Energy Board. And then once they approve it, it'll come back to you for your third and final reading where you can sign the finalized document. So that's just the little bit of difference that they've requested so that the Energy Board can see it. But Mike McIsaac and I met with them, and we have no issues with it. It's a pretty routine agreement.
They've asked for very specific wording in it.
Yeah, this has all come from their lawyers and they're from the Energy Board. So
Not just a union.
no. So,
okay, so the recommendation there is what? Okay.
The lawyers like.
You want to state it?
Sure. So they've asked that this council approves the form of a draft bylaw and franchise agreement attached hereto and authorizes the submission thereof to the Ontario Energy Board for approval pursuant to the provisions of Section 9 of the Municipal Franchises Act. And this council requests that the Ontario Energy Board make an order declaring and directing that the assent of the municipal electors to the attached draft bylaw and franchise agreement pertaining to the corporation of the town of Minto is not necessary pursuant to the provisions of Section 9, bracket 4 of the Municipal Franchises.
I couldn't hear you.
That's going to be another.
I will do it now in sign language.
One more time. Okay, it's going to be another 4-3 vote. You know that.
I hope not. You can do that on the third reading when it comes back to you the third time. So, back to you, Mr. Mayor, for a mover and a seconder to read it first and second time.
Councilor Dirksen, all in favor? Okay. Thank you. Other business. Now, who do we have there? I had. You had something? Yes.
Sorry.
Please. Yes, Judy, sorry.
Sorry, I did not hear you.
That's all right.
So I have good news from North Wellington Healthcare. There was a press release today that the North Wellington Healthcare has received approval to proceed to tender for the Louise Marshall Hospital emergency room and ambulatory care projects and the medical education spaces at both Louise Marshall and at Palmerston District. So these projects actually have been in the works since, are you ready? 2011.
2011.
Yep, 2011. Moving right along. So tendering documents can be released shortly, and the ministry, we're hoping, will approve those, will approve a contract by late spring.
Very good. Thanks, Judy.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Judy, is the money in the bank for those projects?
Money in the bank with from the community.
So the money's in the bank to do those projects?
Yes.
It's kind of funny. That's you have to, so the money's in the bank, ready to be spent,
Yes.
but we still need to wait 7 years for approval.
Well, particularly in because some of it is from the Ministry of Health.
Sure.
Okay, like it's not all community money.
Mm-hmm.
But particularly at Louise Marshall, like that foundation has been
Very active.
very actively fundraising for years for this project. Yes.
Well, actually, that project, if I may, was come up with long before 2011 because we originated when I was still working there as the director of patient care that we emerged. So it has been sadly underspaced for many years. It's been at least 50. That it was a concept that we need to put forward for.
Just to remind everybody that the county put, I think, $2.2 million into both the rural hospitals, both Palmerston and Louise Marshall. So that came from your taxes as well. But again, that's the money you talked about, Dave. That's been sitting there, and some of it's gone out already. But some of the projects that I know Palmerston have done already. But having somebody that I have a doctor in Mount Forest, so I've sat in that emergency room, and I've sat in that. It's nice to have it finally.
You and me both, but don't get too excited because it's still years away.
Oh yeah, I know.
Should be done next week.
I won't try to go over there until it's ready.
There's a lot of shifting that has to go on because the hospital still has to operate as a fully functional hospital. So there's a lot of shifting around that has to be.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Bridge. So,
make a comment?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, okay.
Oh, so this morning, 10 a.m. in Palmerston, Ontario, town of Minto, we opened a new business.
Yes, thank you, David.
And it is ID Computer Services. Ian Mead is the owner, and very nice young man. He's been around this area for a while, but he's from out of town, and he's pretty impressed with Minto and the friendliness that there is here. And so I'm just asking everybody to stop in and see him. He's into a little of everything in reference to electronics, repairs, computer services, new computers, surveillance, things like that. So stop in and see him.
Yeah, even phones.
Yeah.
And thanks for everybody who all made it out. I had another thing on.
Yeah, there was
that's good.
quite a few of us.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks for filling in for me.
No problem.
Deputy Mayor.
It was good.
I have two things. One, I just want to, it's my bragging rights for my grandson, and they won the international silver stick now in Forest. So they're the international silver stick winners in Forest last weekend or the weekend before. Weekend before, and they've only got lost once, and then they beat that team in the final. So we'll do it. Lambton Stars. They're pretty excited about that, and they won their first series in their playoffs. They took against Brussels, and what I want to just say is, they've got a couple 81 guys there helping with the coaching, and the coaching it's nice to see. I think the kids enjoy that they have those young 81s guys that are just out of the junior or whatever helping out with the coaching. It's nice to see that, and yeah, it's good to see. And by the way, Brussels arena is colder than Harrison. I wasn't there, but I heard that. And then, yeah. And the second thing I want to talk about, another exciting thing tomorrow, is we're having at 10:45. We're meeting with Leaf, and we're doing a thing over there. I'm going to be over there, and they're having a luncheon. and that program has really been successful, I believe, and we'll get a fill in of as to all it was about and how they
I won't
got
be
along.
there.
No, I think I don't. Yes, go ahead.
Oh.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Sold.
Yeah. So anybody else? Mark, did you have something?
Just
Yeah.
a quick question
Yeah.
from the trail committee. They asked what the status was of repairing that bridge. Is it insurance replied on it, deductible, or what's happening?
So the last we had from George Thompson, our adjuster, is again the previous council on that had recommended replacement, and the incident about 10 days ago. I don't think that's material by the look of it, and so he's sending it on because he's the adjuster. He's dealing with the insurance company, so he's waiting for approvals at the insurance company level.
Good chance we'll have an answer where we're going before.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say any time, but this has been going on for.
Thank you.
Chris, have you got something to add there? Probably not. Can't figure that out.
Just it was passed on to our adjuster, and the insurance company's deciding whether to restore it or replace it. So it's going to be done either way, but it's just whether it's replaced or restored to the way it is. So the incident, I just want to say that the incident that was there was we had another fire there. That there was somebody tried to light the bridge on fire, and it was on fire. So we have been in contact with them again that they're going to look at it because of the fire to see if it did any damage to the underneath of it. But that's the decision they're making. So it's going to be done one way or the other.
So hopefully the spring we'll get at it and get her done.
This was an issue. They brought that up, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, I think that's it. We have this first. Moved by Councilor Anderson, second by Councilor Elliott. The committee of the whole convenes at a regular council meeting. All in favor? And then we have notice of motion. Please, Mark, did you want to?
Okay.
Do I say it or do you say it? I guess is this one? This is the one you put in, or did you want to talk to it?
Well, if it's.
Okay, yeah.
I don't know what the process is.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'll read into it, and then we'll ask for a second.
Point of order. There's no discussion.
No, there's no discussion on it tonight.
I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Just read it, and then it goes to the next council for discussion. Okay.
Can I add to that before it's read?
It can. I guess technically, if you want to add something to the bottom of this.
To get something done.
It's not in yet.
Well, then okay.
Yeah. It's
Thank
not,
you. Suggestion from the mayor.
Yeah.
I didn't write it down.
Okay, that's fine. Okay, I'll read it back then. That's what we're going to do tonight. Okay, that the Council of Town of Minto establish a moratorium of all future requests for dog kennel licensings or expansions to existing operations until the council has reviewed the bylaw. This will allow the Town of Minto to make amendments to consider the Canadian and Provincial Association's Code of Practice that will strengthen our bylaw, and that staff bring back a report. No vote on that. That's what it is. Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Okay. Yep. Moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor McKenzie. The Council of the Town of Minto ratifies motion made in the committee of the whole. In favor? Moved by Councillor Dixon, second by Deputy Mayor Turton. The bylaw number 2019-06 to authorize the mayor and the acting clerk to sign a community improvement agreement with Sean Wells be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed over council, sealed to the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor McKenzie, second by Councillor Anderson. The bylaw number 2019-07 to authorize the mayor and the acting clerk to sign a commercial lease renewal of 2323004 Ontario Inc. be introduced and read first, second, and third time, and passed over council, sealed to the corporation. All in favor? Oh, what's this one? Okay. No, this is just the first and second. Yeah, we're not used to that, eh? Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Gunson. The bylaw number 2019-08 to authorize the mayor and the acting clerk to sign a franchise agreement renewal with Enbridge Gas Inc. be introduced and read first and second time. No third time. We're going to be doing that later. Moved by Deputy Mayor Turton, second by Councillor Turton, second by that bylaw number 2019-09 to amend the zoning bylaw number 0186 for 6275 Highway 89 in the town of Minto be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed over the council, seal of corporation. All in favor? You're opposed. Okay. Moved by Councillor Gutson, second by Councillor McKenzie, the bylaw number 2019-10 to exempt part lot control for lands being lots 17, 18, 19, and 20 in Block 23 on Bridge Crescent, Plan 61M222 in the former town of Palmerston, town of Minto. Be introduced and read first, second, and third time, and passed over the council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? No opposed. Should be asking that. Yeah. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Elliott, bylaw number 2019-11 to confirm the actions of the council of the corporation of town of Minto respecting a meeting held January 22nd, 2019, be introduced, read first, second, third time, passed over council, seal of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Dixon, second by Deputy Mayor Turton, that the council of the town of Minto adjourns the meeting again at the call of the mayor. All in favor? Thanks everybody for a good meeting.